Well, the greed and incompetence of Texas leadership, oh boy, especially Texas Governor Greg Abbott and his minions. Well, folks, it's really on blast now in so many ways. And water is just another way, because Texas water shortage strategy relies mostly on 200 open air reservoirs exposed to the hot baking sun at all times. Who thought of that and decided they didn't need to start working on repairing that? Oh, I forgot, Greg Abbott. Okay. All right, it's a real problem. So, of course, Texas is concerned about potentially lethal extremes of drought and flood. For some reason, it never dawned on Texas that in a hot state, having its water in an open air, all its water, all its reservoirs in an open air facility could become a problem. But then that's Greg Abbott and his minions. They're completely out for themselves, and it shows in so many ways. So now and finally, Texas is requiring the State Water Planning Board to consult with the state climatologist as it advises cities in planning to meet the state's water needs in the future. It's about time. The Texas population is expected to surge by 2070 from 30 million all the way to 52 million people. That's a lot of folks drawing on the water. Much of that growth is expected along the dry and extremely vulnerable I-35 corridor that stretches from the Rio Grande Valley, Laredo and the Rio Grande Valley, all the way through San Antonio, Austin, and the enormous collection of well-built-out cities in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I-35 highway roughly divides Texas's wet east with its dry west, okay? But most of Texas, more than 1,200 incorporated towns and cities, they just don't have the resources to do their own climate planning, and that's a real problem. They are less likely to have multiple options to draw from in the case of a crisis, and this needs to be fixed right away. I don't know about you, but I don't have any confidence in Texas Governor Greg Abbott and his ability and his leadership to get the job done, and that's why Texas is working very hard to flip the state so that we can get some leadership in there that cares about people when it comes to water and everything else. I'm Carol Angela Davis. That's your commentary. These are your headlines from around the neighborhood and all around the world. Folks dumping in and destroying black neighborhoods, where you've heard that tune before. Also today, there's a new pneumonia out there. Will it become a pandemic? Also, bad news for the Amazon. Can we save it? And there is some question there. Also, protecting marine life. Then we have story on a new honor for Jamaican-born Secretary of State Colin Powell. Of course, everybody remembers him. Then California siblings working on behalf of the formerly incarcerated. A new black doll line in Target, and she took her stripper earnings through the roof. Stay with me. Looking at the community, folks, industrial plants in Birmingham, Alabama, well, of course, they have polluted the air and land in its historic black neighborhood for over a century. That's right, folks, okay? Birmingham has been called an epicenter of environmental injustice. Isn't that interesting? All right, in North Birmingham, the air residents breathe and the ground under their feet, folks, you should know, became more contaminated than in nearly any other quarter of America. That's right. This is after white leaders enacted redlining policies, of course, forcing black residents to live in the most hazardous communities there in Birmingham. And then they allowed plant owners to pass off costly upgrades to the subsequent owner, who then passed it off to the subsequent owner. So, of course, it was never done. The upgrade was never done. Air quality, of course, never improved. One such company was Bluestone, which gave away dirt. This is how low down they were. They gave away dirt containing toxic chemicals to residents. Gee, thanks. Don't do me any favors. Thank you. Pollution has sickened residents and suppressed their property values. Birmingham residents were exposed to, are you ready for this? Cancer-causing polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons pollutants. That's what they were exposed to. They even sound dangerous. That were equivalent to smoking 2.5 packs of cigarettes a day. And we know what that does to the lungs, folks. Okay, what are we going to do about Birmingham and Jackson, Mississippi, and all the other places in America where redlining policies and other policies allowed black residents to just become prey to corporate America? This must be stopped. Pete Buttigieg, do your job. All right, let's go on. Looking at your health, there's apparently a new mysterious pneumonia out there. It's in Argentina, folks. It has infected 10 and killed 3. That's right, folks. Now, many fear it could emerge as a pandemic, as its profile is similar to that of COVID-19 in 2019. The mysterious illness was detected in the South American nation's, Tucumán province. All right, that is the most densely populated area of Argentina. All right, let's not, oh boy, I'll tell you. Officials have ruled out clear suspects like COVID, hantavirus, and influenza, so it's not that. Some fear that it could be jumping from animals to humans, so we're not sure about that. 8 confirmed cases are among the health workers, indicating that it is contagious. The symptoms linked with the illness so far include vomiting. They also include a high fever, diarrhea, and body aches. So far, U.S. Officials say it is too early for Americans to worry about the current risk, and they say the current risk factor is a 0.10 on a scale from 1 to 10. So that's encouraging for us. But remember, the pandemics are pandemics because they travel around the world. So let's keep our eye on that. All right, let's look at the climate. Bad news for the Amazon, as one report says large parts of the Amazon may never recover. Oh, yeah. Right now, only 74% of the Amazon rainforest remains. Got that? Only 74% remains, okay? 90% of all combined deforestation and degradation are concentrated in Brazil and Bolivia. Agriculture is responsible for 85% of the deforestation, and the amount of land given over to farming has tripled since 1985. That's a huge problem. Brazil is one of the world's main food exporters. The study, Amazonia Against the Clock, well, it found that only Suriname and French Guiana have at least half of their forest intact. Only those two, and they're very tiny nations, you should know. Conservationists want a global pact for the permanent conservation and protection of 80% of the rainforest, and they want that by 2025. That means that urgent action is needed not only to protect the forest that is still standing, but also to restore the forest and get it back to that 80% level. We hope that works, because we're all in trouble if it doesn't. All right, looking internationally, diplomats from around the world, well, they failed to reach an agreement on a United Nations treaty that is designed to protect marine life on the high seas. A proposed treaty would set rules for protecting biodiversity in 2/3 of the world's ocean areas that are outside of national jurisdictions. Less than 1% of the high seas are protected without this new treaty, so we have to have the treaty. The global goal is to set aside 30% of ocean area as some kind of marine sanctuary. More than 90% of the excess heat from the climate, you know this, from climate change is absorbed through the water. Marine heat waves are getting longer and more frequent. Sounds like everything else. We got to protect, 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 protect. All right, let's move on. The United States Department of State, it has launched a new leadership program to honor Caribbean American Secretary of State Colin Powell. The new Colin Powell Leadership Program is going to provide diverse individuals with leadership opportunities so they can pursue careers there at the State Department. It's going to provide paid fellowships to recent college graduates and paid internships to students who are enrolled at accredited institutions of higher learning. Now, all applicants do have to be U.S. citizens. They have to be able to obtain and retain a secret or a top secret clearance. All positions will be located in the Washington, D.C. area. Colin Powell, as you know, was the son of Jamaican immigrants. He was also a former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and a 4-star general in the U.S. Army. What an honor for an honorable man. All right, now let's go on. Clyde Beasley and Kim Gobert, they're brother and sister, and they're in California. They're making a difference in the lives of the formerly incarcerated, also women, veterans, and the homeless. And they have a organization called the Prison Reform Project. Its goal is to help people and there are thousands of such individuals, we should tell you, that are released from prison or jail, but of course often end up back in the prison system for a variety of reasons. Their organization helps formerly incarcerated individuals manage their mental illnesses, reestablish their finances, and reconnect to society and find employment. If you are interested, you can email them at info@prisonreform.com, or you can call them at 213-880-1341. All right, moving on. Kudos to an 8-year-old. Her name is Essie Bees. She and her mom, they have a deal with Target for their best-selling dolls. That's right, folks. The dolls are now available in Target locations in 40 states. They showcase not only the variety of skin tones in the African-American community, but also the curly hair patterns and textures. Okay, bestsellers from the Baby Bee doll collection are Positively Puff and Sugar Puff. Oh, I like that. Okay, the dolls were created to instill self-love during pretend play, helping young girls build the confidence to know their worth. Congratulations to this young woman and her mom, and we are pulling for you, and we know what to do for Christmas now, don't we? We know exactly what to do for Christmas. All right, what about the black woman entrepreneur who went from the stripper pole to owning a $1 million trucking business? That's right, folks. Her name is Ashley Thomas. She founded the nation's first black woman-owned transportation call center to recruit truck drivers. Now, her call center is called Supreme Drivers Recruiting. And in her recently released book, Divorcing the Game, she talks about how she made it out of the game. And she tells the story of her journey from the stripper pole to owning a $1 million trucking company. All right, again, her name, as you know, her name is Ashley Thomas. You can contact her at staffing@supremedriversrecruiting.com. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Those are your stories. Thanks for joining us. And stay with me. I've got Missing, the Slay Word, Ask Dr. K, the International Report, and Crypto Convo. Stay with me. Oh yeah, it's time to level up your vocab with your Slay Word of the Week. And the word this week is assiduous. A-S-S-I-D-U-O-U-S, assiduous. It is an adjective, which means it modifies that noun, describes that noun. Its origin is from Latin in about 1552. Wow, if you can believe that. The definition is showing great care, attention, and effort. That's your Slay Word, assiduous. We're going to use it in a couple of sentences. The first sentence, thanks to the assiduous efforts of the local land trust over many years, a substantial amount of whippoorwill habitat is now protected from economic development. And here's another one. The FBI was assiduous, yes ma'am, in their search for all the government and classified documents found at Mar-a-Lago. That's right. The project required some assiduous planning as well. Assiduous, that's your Slay Word of the Week. You know what it means, showing great care, attention, and effort. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Use it all week in your convos and level up your vocab.
Anyone who thinks that slavery ended in the 1860s with the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation are grievously wrong.
If we caught a bird, we ate through the feathers and ate the bird. We didn't have nothing to cook on. We didn't have no stove.
You know who you are and who we are. We're still on that big plantation.
She was bonded to them until they died. She was their slave.
They said, well, we're going to be killed tonight.
Could that same white dude keep terrorists there? Or Russian spies? Or the KGB? And the government wouldn't know it? No.
They thought I was beat so bad that I couldn't do nothing, but I did.
Where are you? This is our Missing segment where we look for African American girls. And with the community's help, we will find them. We focus this week on Lashaya Stein. Here's her story. Lashaya Stein was 16 years old when she disappeared from Aurora, Colorado in 2016. There is surveillance video of Lashaya walking in the area of East Montview Boulevard and North Peoria Street in Aurora. Lashaya was seen during the early hours of July 15, 2016. She was wearing a black V-neck shirt, black stone-washed jeans, and a silver watch on her left arm. She also has a round scar on her chest. There is a $15,000 reward in Lashaya's case. Call Crime Stoppers with any information to help us find Lashaya Stein. Where are you? We are working to find you, and with the community's help, we will. Okay, we're with you with the International Report with Dr. Inyang Ebon Harstrup. How are you, Eni?
I'm good, Carol. How are you this week?
Well, I think it's a COVID. It's a COVID day, huh?
It's a COVID day. Not only is the weather gray like COVID, but I mean, we're still dealing with sick people, even if Omicron is a lot lighter of a disease. But I was reading today, and I thought it would be interesting to share with our viewers that now we've gotten over, we're getting over COVID. We've got the problem of all the waste that has been generated as a result of the disease. WHO has just put out a report talking about the vast amounts of waste that have been accumulated in the efforts to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic. Discarded syringes, use test kits, old vaccine bottles have piled up to the tens of thousands of tons of medical waste. And they're putting a huge strain on the health care management, the waste management system. So in the report said that 87,000 tons of personal protective equipment, which was ordered via the UN portal, have been laid waste. They have just gone to waste. And in addition to that, 140 million test kits that we have shipped across the entire world has the potential to generate 2,600 tons, mainly of plastic, and enough chemical waste to fill 1/3 of an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Some 8 billion vaccine doses were administered globally and were also estimated to have produced 144,000 tons of waste in the form of glass vials, syringes, needles, and safety boxes. So it didn't, while the report doesn't go on to say which are the countries that have generated so much waste, it does note that, for example, in India, of course, for example, in India, they had a lot of waste built up in their system. And also in Madagascar, they had a lot of fecal waste that had built up in the system. So you can imagine all this kind of waste is going to be a big problem for us to deal with, Carol. And climate change, with all its attendant ills and problems, I sat and I read this and I sat back and I said, oh my goodness, how are they going to cope with this problem?
What are we going to do? It's so interesting. Dr. Inge Ebong-Herstrup, with your international report, we bring you the report every single solitary week so you know what's going on around the world. Thank you so much, Edie.
Thank you, Carol.
I'm Carol Angela Davis. Stay with me for Ask Dr. K. We're here with the Crypto Convos with Lionel the Builder Sapp. Lionel, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So what's going on in the market today?
So once again, Bitcoin's pretty much moving sideways. It's actually at 19K still, which is a little bit lower than what it was previously. Last week, it was at 20. But for Bitcoin, that $1,000 difference isn't really a lot. So today, I just wanted to go over some potential buying opportunities, because now that Bitcoin has seen a bit of stability, if things do turn around, just like the housing market crash, if people would have just held on until the market recovers, you can actually make a lot of money in that. So I wanted to point out a few examples of this. So we have Solana, which is one of my favorite coins, as you know. That's $32 right now, and they have an all-time high of 250.
Wow.
So this is, hypothetically, if things do recover, everything gets back on track, that is definitely one of the projects that you may be able to make a lot off of right now. The other one, of course, would be Ethereum, which is the second most important coin, and that is 1,600 right now. And Ethereum's all-time high, let me make sure that I double check, it is 4,600. So that's 1,600 with an all-time high of 4,600. Of course, there's Bitcoin is 19,000 right now with all-time high of 65,000. That there's always the biggest volatility in there, but that's just a few examples and some information for you guys to look out for.
Very interesting. We keep our eye on the crypto market because we've all got money in it and we're just waiting to see what happens. Thank you so much, Lionel the Builder Sapp. That's your crypto convo for the week. We'll be back next week with more. Thank you, Lionel.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
I'm just sick and tired of us not spending time together lately.
I know, baby. I know. I'm sorry I ain't been spending time with you. I've just been working on this big deal. It's gonna bring a lot more money to the household for it.
What you doing here, boss?
Yeah, just checking to see if you still got it.
You take this work. You partner. I don't want it back.
I've seen the movies, man. I know how this goes.
You see the movies, huh? Did you see Goodfellas? New Jack City?
Everything I do is for you. Like, I just need a little bit more time, man. Find bullshit
shit. Like I said, he's gonna call any second.
Why don't you take a look at this video? Guess what? It's starring you.
As always, closing out the show with YOU in mind with Ask Dr. K, talking about your health and your longevity. Welcome, Dr. K.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. You know, we started our discussion last week about the increasingly alarming low sperm count among men of African descent and African American descent, and the fact that clinical research had been done to establish sperm count norms, to establish sperm counts. Most of the research was concentrated on people of European descent. And lo and behold, the data showed that actually the sperm count was rapidly declining in minority populations, particularly African Americans and people of African descent. Once again, like so many problems, we were not included in the research. So when we have medical problems or when we seek medical care, we simply must ask, is there a clinical trial that I can participate in? Because it's so important to help delineate some of the problems affecting our community. There are sperm count trials going on in Nigeria, but so far one that focuses strictly on the African American population is not being done. Now, the NIH frequently funds these kinds of research projects. And this also shows when we are not accessing STEAM careers, we miss out on a lot of information. So it's also important for us, it's important for us to encourage our children to pursue careers in the health sciences, not only becoming a physician or dentist, but also in the PhDs, the academic professions, because here's where the research is done. So please ask your provider about participating in a clinical trial. And remember, food is our medicine. Food gives us exactly what we need in the quantity that we need it, in the form that we need it. And actually the food that I'm talking about is a whole food and a plant-based diet, avoiding the animal-based diet. That's anything that depends on meat and dairy that comes from an animal, including a chicken. This is even decreasing our sperm counts. Once again, it is very important for us to maintain a normal weight. Diabetes is a disease that affects us in so many ways. So let's hold on to our health. Let's find our health and let's participate in finding health issues in our community and searching for the answers. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Dr. K. One quick question. We have about 5 seconds actually left to this. So it's okay for me to say to my doctor, healthcare provider, it's okay for me to say, do you have any studies? If so, I'd like to be in one. That's okay.
Yes, it is. And not only that, but it's very important for us to say that. Then we become researchers, participants, and we find out what diseases are affecting our community. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, very interesting. And as everybody knows, no sperm, no babies. Never forget that. This is a problem that must be licked. I'm Carol Angela Davis. I'm talking with Dr. K. You know she's with you every week, telling you exactly what you need to know to live a long life. And thank you so much again, Dr. K, for being here. And we thank you to our viewers for being here. From all of us at Impact Networks, we wish you a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week with more timely information. Have a good week.